Welcome to Cooking Up Some History. Each week during the holiday season, we're going to be rating the Chester County History Center Library's old cookbooks and giving their vintage recipes our best shot. The successes, the flops, and all. Today we're trying out a recipe simply titled Mushrooms.
Mushrooms!
It comes from the Housekeepers Favorites of 1902, compiled by the women of the Central Presbyterian Church in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. So we're going to make this historic version, but with a few tweaks. And as a bonus, I'll walk you through how I fixed the mistakes I made the first time, so you can avoid them yourselves. Or at least you'll be emotionally prepared. But first, a little history. Let's start with what the 1923 Daily Local News tells us. Kennett Square's mushroom industry wasn't originally planned. It accidentally grew out of the carnation business. Or so the legend goes. Kennett was known nationally as the Carnation Town because local greenhouses raised carnations on elevated benches. Underneath those benches, there was empty, dark, unused space. Around the late 1880s to 1890s, two growers, William Swain and later Harry Hicks, decided to experiment with mushrooms in that unused area. Swain even imported brick spawn from England because the U.S. source didn't exist yet. These early growers quickly learned that mushrooms grow best in dark, controlled, cool spaces, perfect for underbench real estate. They needed specialized houses to keep temperatures stable, and they needed a reliable supply of spawn, which eventually led to Kennett Square becoming a manufacturing center for it. According to the 1928 article, farmers began building entire mushroom houses, not just using greenhouse scraps. The industry grew so rapidly that Kennett became known as the center of mushroom growing business. By the 1920s, local farms were shipping 5 tons a day. Mushrooms were being sent to markets in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Detroit, often arriving by the next morning. So by 1902, when our recipe book was printed, Kennett Square's mushroom industry was already exploding, and the women writing the cookbook would have been surrounded by this new local crop. All right, let's start to cook. The original 1902 recipe says to peel the mushrooms, but I fear that's a lot of unnecessary work. But if you want to be authentic to the recipe, feel free. I'm keeping the skin on because I like the flavor. Just make sure they're washed and dried off, and use a low lint cloth if you have one. Now, let's pop out the stems. Mrs. Gray knew what she was doing here. Stems and caps can cook at different speeds because of the thickness, so separating them helps get that perfect texture. Once they're separated out, place the caps in a greased, bakeable earthenware or porcelain dish. I melted some butter and added garlic, salt, and pepper and drizzled that over the caps and then tossed them together. Go ahead and pop them in an oven preheated to 375 degrees and roast them until they start releasing the moisture. That's a signal they're fully cooked and ready for the next step. So while the caps are roasting, let's tackle those stems. The original recipe calls for boiling them, but we're allowed to have some joy in life, so I sauteed them in butter instead. I also added a splash of cooking wine to deepen the flavor, plus rosemary and thyme for that aromatic effect. The only problem is I added too much butter here, way too much for this amount of stems that we're cooking down. But don't worry, we're going to fix that later. Let the wine reduce until it's not watery anymore, and then add some heavy cream and your salt and pepper and stir that until the sauce thickens. You can add a teaspoon of flour, one at a time, to thicken it if you'd like. Now with our caps roasted for about 10 minutes or so, go ahead and mix the stem sauce with the roasted caps and pop everything back in the oven. I covered mine to speed up the cooking, but that trapped in some extra moisture too. So when I pulled the lid off, you can see the butter and cream had completely separated. It looks terrible, like maybe I shouldn't have filmed this terrible. But these things happen when you're cooking and trying out new recipes, so here's the trick. I just drained off the excess butter and oil, give it a gentle stir, and suddenly we're back to normal. So the lesson is, even if things go sideways in the kitchen, it's usually fixable.
There's gold in your mushroom.
And now here's the final result. Rich, savory, buttery mushrooms that Mrs. Thomas H. Gray recommended we serve over broiled beefsteak. I didn't have beefsteak ready for this video. In my house, I did pair these with a beef roll that I had made from next week's recipe, so stay tuned for that. But these are just fine on their own. If you make this dish or discover your own 1902 cooking hacks, tag us so we can see your results. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos in this series. See you next time, and thanks for watching.